Alright, this video is about Wolf Warrior 2. Today's Bruce Lee for China. So I read this article about this movie. I didn't see the movie, I saw the trailer. But the article was saying that this movie is the most popular movie ever in China. Making the most money ever in China. It's like super popular. And the guy is, shooting a lot of guns, doing some martial arts stuff, and he was inspiration for the Chinese people. And then in the article they said at the end of the movie he's fighting some American, and then the American says something to the effect of saying, you people always be inferior to us. And then he ended up killing the guy, the American, and then he ended up saying that the history is dead or something like that, or he said that history is dead. And the symbolism of the movie is similar to what Bruce Lee was doing back then. Bruce Lee back then, when he came out with the movie, he was the most popular, the most popular movie ever at that time. And he was standing up against the Japanese bullying, the Japanese corruption, and basically he'd beat the Japanese at the end of the movie to give the pride to China. Now today with Wolf Warrior 2, you got this Chinese guy, he's got this American guy that's trying to bully him, and then he beats up and kills the American guy and says, trying to empower the Chinese, to show that, hey, we're not gonna allow ourselves to be bullied anymore. So back then it was Bruce Lee representing China over the bullying of Japan. Now the Wolf Warrior 2 is representing the Chinese overcoming the oppression from America. So it's very popular over there now, and it's just something that I noticed, and I live in America, I'm an American, but at the same time my roots go back to China, and this is just an observation that I'm making, and the martial arts, especially for modern times, there's guns everywhere. So this guy's using all sorts of guns and explosions, and this is just more of a pure action movie. It kind of more reminds you of more like Rambo and something like that. The old time martial art movies with Bruce Lee, where there's no guns and they're just fighting it out, and then they're sparring and they're fighting, the way that Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris was fighting, and the Game of Death, where he's going through each martial art master and challenging each one as he moves up the pagoda. I mean, those days are just long gone. Nowadays it's all like gunfire action movies everywhere, and you look at the industry now in Hollywood, it's all about these action hero movies, and all about Marvel Comics, and one of the most popular movies that making the most money is the Star Wars. I mean, this is what the people are into. Those days back when Bruce Lee was alive, those movies, I could pretty much say they're never gonna exist again. That's not what people are into. But the real martial artists, they like to spar, they like to train to to better themselves in that area and to be the best that they can be without using guns and weapons. But this is to test their limitations and test their abilities. And the boxing and the cage fighting is a representation of that type of desire. But martial artists, they don't limit themselves by the rules of sport, but they train for survival, and they train for no rules combat. And that's what Bruce Lee trained in back then, and that's what I trained in. But that is a rarity nowadays, because even if you are very talented in the martial arts, you don't have a future in Hollywood. You don't have a future in the Chinese movie industry. You don't have a future in any acting, because they don't care about martial arts, in today. So a lot of the martial artists today, they're actually trained in the real martial arts with no rules, and you're actually sparring for real life situations of combat. It's very rare to meet those people because there really is no career in that. You know, there isn't. You can't go into acting. You know, and you know, and then you're not a fighter either. You don't jump in the cage. You're not a boxer. You don't go into the ring. You know, so what Bruce Lee was representing back then is pretty much never going to be represented again in the mass scale as far as, you know, these movie industries are concerned. I think that the real martial artists, you know, have really no other outlet than to go into YouTube and to share their art through YouTube, and to continue to share their arts through in the community and through teaching, you know, the people that they encounter. But it's just something that I started to notice, and you know, the time has come, you know, because even, like I said, even in China, which is the birthplace of the martial arts, that's where Bruce Lee was from. They're known for martial art movies, but you look at now, even their people are pretty much going towards action, gunfire and all that stuff, explosions. I mean, this is what America's has been all about, you know, for the longest. And then now China is their population is drawn to that as well, you know, just like MMA and the UFC is going over to China now. So the Western influence is influencing their entertainment industry. So now you're seeing UFC, MMA in China, and then now you're seeing Rambo, Arnold Schwarzenegger type of movies in China that are super popular. You know, so even in China, they're not producing Bruce Lee type movies, and clearly in America they're not doing it either. So what does it lead it up to? What does it result in? The people that love the martial arts got to keep it alive in YouTube. I mean, that's the only thing that we have.